Today, let's discuss how psychological trauma can affect our relationships. If you haven't already, please watch my previous video on the brain science of trauma where I explain what changes happen in the brain when one experiences psychological trauma. Trauma has the ability to affect us as individuals in many different ways, especially in the way we interact with others, be it our personal or professional relationships. Let me explain some common themes with the caveat that we are all very different. Not everybody has 100% of these effects, and each one of us experiences the impact differently. First and foremost, let's discuss trust. This has been breached. Trauma often affects an individual's confidence, not just in others, but in one's own self. Individuals who have experienced trauma often find it difficult to trust either their partners, colleagues, friends, or other people, and they see them with a lens of skepticism. They have fear of being defrauded or cheated again, and to some extent, this is a protective mechanism. When we understand this impact of the psychological trauma using the concept of the mind lens or the prism through which we view the world, you can understand that psychological trauma causes chips on the mind lens, so every future experience is distorted when passing through this chipped lens. Have you been through such a time in your life? Put some comments in the comment box. Loss of trust can lead to communication difficulties. An individual may struggle to express their feelings and needs for fear of being hurt by exposing their vulnerability, which can then lead to misunderstandings, miscommunications, and conflict within relationships because there is indecisiveness, and often an individual is actually giving mixed messages even without wanting to do that. Trauma survivors sometimes withdraw and use emotional distance as a coping mechanism. Now, this emotional distance can create a disconnect in relationships, making it challenging for their partners or loved ones to connect at a more deeper level. Partners, friends, and people who are close to these individuals often struggle with this emotional distance as they feel it's difficult to understand why someone is shutting off. And they often say, they don't let me in. The emotional distance in some can extend to physical and intimacy issues as well. So know that this is not you. It is their own need to protect themselves emotionally. And this is often not a conscious mechanism where someone is shutting away from you. And individuals who suffer with hypervigilance due to trauma, they experience emotional volatility with emotions of arousal, anger, sadness, or even numbness, often alternating with each other, which can be difficult for others to understand. They're difficult to understand for the individual themselves as well, but they are constantly focused on trying to avoid the triggers that are bringing those intrusive thoughts, memories, and images. And this can be very limiting when you think about it, because often the world is shrinking for them. Let's talk about Lorraine, who suffered with significant emotional bullying and exclusion in school. This affected her self-esteem and self-worth quite a lot, to the extent that she developed a deep belief that she was not good enough and no one likes me. She felt guilty and she felt shame in herself, which made it difficult for her to believe that she deserved love and care in her relationships. And when she then formed relationships, she would potentially display self-sabotaging behaviors. Subconsciously, this almost recreated the dynamics of situations reminiscent of her traumatic experiences in relationships, perpetuating a cycle of trauma, because then she would feel excluded, she would feel traumatized, and the whole cycle would reinvent itself. This example also brings us to attachment styles. I'm sure you have watched the video on attachment styles, and if not, please do, because it is genuinely worth watching. Trauma can influence an individual's attachment style. For example, some individuals may become anxious or preoccupied in relationships, fearing abandonment, while others may become avoidant and push people away to protect themselves. Whereas in response to trauma, some may become very dependent on their partners, and conversely, isolate themselves from others, these patterns can strain relationships because they can be perceived as controlling or neglectful. This also highlights the effect of psychological trauma on an individual's struggle with setting and maintaining healthy boundaries in relationships. And boundaries and balance are so important in order to maintain long-lasting relationships. They have a tendency to either be too rigid and closed off or too porous and accommodating, which can lead to problems in maintaining a balanced relationships. And sometimes it's a mixture of all of that, again, giving mixed messages to people around them. I have seen individuals cope with psychological trauma by resorting to pleasure-seeking activities in order to block those memories or dampen those feelings of shame and guilt. And these can include resorting to recreational substances, alcohol, gambling, and other addictions as a way to cope with emotional pain. Addictions can significantly strain relationships, but also lead to further trauma within the relationship and affect the brain as well. Now, the first step in changing this is recognizing what is happening and understanding the mechanics of how trauma is affecting an individual personally. As they say, name it to tame it. Recognize that there is no shame or stigma where you have been the victim. Once you recognize what is happening, it becomes easier to seek the right help and start your journey of recovery. Depending on the type and intensity of the trauma, one can change things by understanding therapy and choosing from various options as appropriate for you. So there is trauma-focused therapy, couples work, there is eye movement, desensitization, and reprocessing. And of course, if you are starting to experience clinical symptoms of depression and anxiety in relation to the trauma, you must seek help from your doctor. Remember, recovery is a journey, patience, compassion, and take one step at a time to navigate the complexities of relationships affected by trauma. So, I'd like you to do this exercise today. Find a quiet and comfortable place to sit or lie down. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing so. Take a deep breath through your nose, counting to 4 as you inhale. Fill your lungs with air and feel it. Hold your breath for a count of 4. Slowly exhale through your mouth for a count of 4, letting go of any tension. Pause for a count of 4 before taking another breath. Repeat this deep breathing pattern for several cycles, focusing your attention on your breath. As you do this exercise, try to let go of any intrusive thoughts and simply focus on the rhythm of your breath. Deep breathing can help bring a sense of relaxation to your day. You can do this exercise for a few minutes whenever you need a quick break to center yourself. As ever, if you have enjoyed watching this video and learned something useful, please like it, share it, tell it to all the people you know. If you're watching and you haven't subscribed, please do so, because the more subscribers I have, the more potential I have to be more creative in the way I present these videos, because features are unlocked on YouTube. Thank you very much for your support.